James.
Rosie.
Jimothy.
Rosanna.
On the 8th of May, 2006, a well-dressed man named Guy Goma walked into the lobby at BBC Studios in London and told the receptionist he was there for a job interview. Guy was applying for a job in IT support, and he'd been sitting waiting for a couple of minutes when a super stressed BBC staffer burst into the lobby, looked around, asked the receptionist a question, and then walked straight over to him and said, "Guy?" And he went, "Yes." 10 minutes later, Guy Goma was live on BBC News 24 in front of millions of people across the UK.
Yes, I remember this.
Being introduced to the entire country as one of the foremost technology journalists in Britain. And in what became one of the first viral videos ever, we see the panic on Guy Goma's face when he realizes they've got the wrong person. But rather than point it out, he composes himself, he takes a breath, and he goes ahead with the interview.
He yes-anded that
He
situation.
yes-ended that situation more than anyone has yes-ended anything ever. This is just the gist of one of the most memorable live TV blunders of all time, Guy Goma and the live BBC interview. Hello, I'm Rosie Waterland, and this is Just the Gist, the podcast where I give you just the gist of what you need to know about the kinds of fascinating stories and random information that will impress your friends at a dinner party. Joining me today is senior producer, legend, and my boyfriend, James Joseph. Hello.
Hello. Never been described as a legend, but I'll take it.
I don't know. I went senior producer, and then I was about to say, and my boyf, and I was like, no, that's gross. And so then I went, legend? But then I still just went, and my boyf. I don't know. Edit it out, maybe. We're off to a good start. Guy
Goma, that was his name. This story.
20 years ago
I can't
this year.
believe there's enough in this for a JTG episode.
Well, I mean, I did think it was going to be a mini, but then I've got heaps here.
Really?
So I don't know. I'm not sure how long. Well, I never know how long they're going to be.
I remember this because this happened like
20 years ago, 2006.
Did it really? Wow.
Yeah. 2006.
Wow.
Like the reason it's back in the news recently, the reason I thought to do an episode about it is because Guy Goma and the producer involved, like the one who grabbed him in the lobby and was kind of the one who effed the whole thing up, they recently wrote a book to mark the 20th anniversary. It's called The Wrong Guy, the inside story of TV's greatest cock-up.
Sure, this story is not big enough to write an entire book about it.
Mate, they wrote a whole book.
Wow, okay.
And they've been on the interview press circuit, and I saw a bunch of interviews with him, and I was like, yeah, I want to do a thing about that.
Right.
Yeah, so it's called The Wrong Guy, the inside story of TV's greatest cock-up, and apparently there is enough to fill a book because they did. So
Pictures maybe? I just remember his like facial expression was just like classic, like just seared into my brain.
Panic, like. And it was really, because YouTube was a year old, so it was really one of the first viral bits of footage that everyone went crazy over. And like also just the nightmare of the situation to like end up being interviewed live on television, having no idea what to say, what the question is. Like, it is kind of a nightmare.
Yeah.
But But he does.
I didn't realize it was that old.
It's 20 years old this year.
It predates Coney 2012.
By 6 years,
Wow,
my friend.
that's crazy.
I know.
I didn't realize it was that old. Wow.
What even is time?
What is time?
What even is time? We're 40. Like this, we're 40.
No, we're babies, okay?
We're babies.
We're still babies.
So, I mean, I guess we just need to sort of look into
the mystery.
How this all went wrong. Because I know a lot of people were like, how does it get to the point where you're sitting there and you're already on TV. There are cameras facing you. You're up on a TV
This is a strange
set.
job interview.
And then how does it get to the point where you're sitting there, but when you do sort of go through the whole thing, you're like, actually, yeah, like it could have, like, you know.
I mean, I've never had a job interview at the BBC.
Yeah, well, neither had he, and that comes into it. So I'm going to take you through just the gist of how all this happened with Guy Goma. Okay. So the one thing we know for sure about this story is that Guy Goma was at the BBC for a job interview. He was a Congolese Frenchman with degrees in business and finance.
Ooh.
And he had moved from the Republic of Congo to the UK in the early 2000s when he was in his mid-30s. He had mainly been working in IT, and in 2006, he was there at the BBC to interview for a job in IT support. Now, the BBC building in London has a lot going on inside. So it's... Why is that? Why
now, there's a lot going on at the BBC, you guys.
There is, and this is what I'm about to explain to you.
Workplace.
I'm trying to explain to you how this all went wrong. So it's just the gist. Bear with me. So this is like pretty much the UK's major news organisation, kind of like Australia's ABC. So at the BBC building, you have just regular offices where journalists write news and where managers run the business side of things. But then you also have TV studios where they like produce the news for television. And in 2006, BBC had a live 24-hour news service. So there was news being filmed live and broadcast on TV 24 hours a day. And that is very tough to do. Like that is hard to do. There's no time to rehearse. There's no time for breaks. Like everything's on a knife's edge when you're putting news together on the fly like that. Like, you know, producers are constantly trying to book guests to come on. They're crossing to journalists live on location. That could be anywhere in the world. Like the news is just happening in real time. There's no buffer. There's no rehearsal. It's a very high pressure job doing 24-hour live news like that. So these people are professionals because you have to be the best of the best in journalism to be able to handle this kind of news. But also, it's not always as polished as it could be because you're not getting 3 months to put together a story like, you know, people at like 60 Minutes or something. Like, so it's fast. It's the news. There shouldn't be mistakes, and there rarely are because these people are great, but mistakes do sometimes
inevitable,
happen. Humans are human. Humans are human. That's the nature of 24-hour like live TV. So the BBC News building had two main entrances. It had the main lobby reception where anybody wanting to go to just the regular offices would go. And then it had the stage door reception, and that was where anybody there to film in the TV studios would go to enter the like TV studio part of the building. So like news anchors, journalists, crew, any guests who were there to be interviewed would go to the stage door. Anyone else would go to the regular office reception. Guy Goma had turned up to the regular office reception area because he was there for a job interview, not a live TV interview. So Guy Goma is sitting there at reception. Meanwhile, in the News 24 studio, a producer called Elliot Gotkin was getting super stressed because the scheduled guest expert for an upcoming segment had not arrived at the stage door entrance. Ooh. That expert guest was a guy called Guy Cuny.
Oh, what are the chances?
What are the chances?
Guy's not like a super common name either.
Not really. No. Hey, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
Guy Cuny is one of Britain's most respected and knowledgeable technology journalists. And this is just the gist, so I'm not going to go into massive detail about this, but I'll tell you like the story Guy Cuny was there to talk about because it's kind of the questions that Guy Goma ends up getting asked. So there had been a major high court ruling that morning on a case that had been running for ages. So basically the Beatles record label that was established in the 1960s was called the Apple Corporation. And when Steve Jobs decided in 1978 that he wanted to call his computer company Apple Computer, the Apple Record Company was like, actually, no, you snooze, you lose. Like, that's our name. You can't call it Apple. So they fought for years. And eventually they came to an agreement in 1991 where the Apple Recording Company said to Apple Computer, okay, look, let's stop fighting. As long as you never have anything to do with selling music, you can stay being called Apple. And Apple Computer was like, why would we ever have anything to do with selling music? We're about computers. Like, that's totally fine. And then a decade later, Apple develops the iPod and starts selling music in the Apple Music Store. So there had basically just been this ongoing battle between the Beatles, Apple Corporation, and Apple Computers since 1978. And on this day in 2006, the High Court had finally ruled in Apple Computers' favor.
Really?
Yeah. So it was it was a big technology story. And BBC News 24 wanted to interview a technology expert about it. So the producer, Elliot Gotkin, he's like a scrappy 30-year-old in charge of booking guests. He found Guy Cuny, who was the editor of technology news website News Wireless, and he booked him to be interviewed live on BBC News that day.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Great idea. Perfect, yeah.
15 minutes before Guy Cuny's scheduled interview, he still hadn't arrived at BBC. Elliot couldn't get in touch with him. He's freaking out. It's his job to make sure segments are filled. Like on live TV like this, it's like you don't have a lot of time. That news anchor is just like, I'm turning to the chair next to me and saying, so Guy Cuny, and there better be someone sitting there. You know what I mean?
But sure they have like packages they could play of like headlines.
They do, but like...
Surely they...
But it is, like I said, this is knife's edge timing. Like he's got 15 minutes. Usually they'll tell you half an hour before, like get there half an hour before, so they have a buffer. 15 minutes, he's hoping he'll still come. They've got a journalist live at the High Court, so they've organised a cross with them. They've got other guests, other journalists around the world for other things. The timing gets all knocked off. It's like, sure, they know how to pivot to something else, but they'd rather not if this guy turns up. You know what I mean?
Because the news is just broken. They've probably got like multiple things on the same topic.
Yeah.
So it's weird if like halfway during that kind of like the discussing they cut to something else.
Exactly. So Elliot Gotney's kind of freaking out. And then he thinks, oh, okay, like, you know, final Hail Mary, maybe Guy Cuny went to the wrong reception because we haven't had him on the show before. He probably hasn't been to this building. Maybe he went to the main office reception instead of the TV studio reception.
Super reasonable.
So Elliot starts sprinting all the way across to the other side of the building, like time is running out, pressure's on. He gets to the main entrance. He sees a black man in a suit sitting at reception. Now, Elliot had just been on the website that Guy Cuny edits to look at a picture of him to like see who he was picking up. Guy Cuny in his picture was a middle-aged white man with a beard and glasses. Guy Goma, the man sitting at reception, had no beard, no glasses, and like I mentioned, he was black.
Look, must have been an old photo, I guess.
That's what I mean. I think when you're desperate, the clock is counting down, the pressure's on, maybe wishful thinking kicks in. You're like, I looked at the wrong picture. I don't know. Elliot goes to the reception and asks, is that Guy Cuny? He says that she says yes. So he goes over to Guy Goma, and here's where, as Queen Lizzie says, recollections may vary. Elliot says he asks Guy Goma, are you Guy Cuny? And Guy says yes. Guy Goma insists that Elliot just asks, are you Guy? And he said yes. I mean, whatever was asked, Guy said yes.
Yeah.
I am Guy. So Elliot is like, great, come with me. We don't have much time. And they start like sprinting.
This is a very urgent job interview.
I know, like sprinting over to the other side of the building. And Guy Goma later says, he's like, I thought that was strange, but also like, you know, I don't know, this kid's young. Maybe he screwed up the interview times. He's going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, he's like, okay. Like so he's just running with this kid. He then is told to wait in a corridor, and a makeup artist comes over to him and asks Guy if he wants a touch-up. And he says, no, thank you. I'm just here for a job interview.
Wow, the service here at the BBC, the perks of working at the BBC are amazing. And you just get touch-ups throughout the day.
He was like, that is strange. No one else had been there for that exchange there, and the makeup artist is just like, okay, whatever, walks off. Then Guy Goma is taken to what he later said felt like a strange location for a job interview. He said it looked like a stage, like a studio stage. He did assume it was some kind of studio because there were lights and TV screens and cameras all around, but like everything was turned, all of that stuff was turned off. Like all he really saw was this sound stage, and there were two stools, and he just kind of thought, well, look, this is the BBC building. They film TV here. This might just be the only space they had available today. I don't know. Like
maybe they record the job interview for like
who to
look at later on.
Whatever.
Who knows? Like I think it's plausible.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. When you're there for a job interview, you're nervous. You don't want to like be difficult or
of course not.
You just kind of be like, oh, I don't know. They're just using this space to do the interviews. Whatever. So he's told to sit on one of the stools. And then a woman comes out and sits on the other one. She says hello to him. He says hello back. And then she turns and starts talking to another person. Guy Goma says later that he recognized this woman. It was Karen Bowerman, who was a news anchor on BBC TV. But before he could process what was happening, all of a sudden, all the lights and TV screens in the room suddenly turn on. And Guy sees his face on all of them. And he said later he was about to say something, but then Karen just started talking into a camera. And here's the thing with being a guest on live TV, because I've done it a lot. So I want to explain to you now, if you're still finding it hard to believe how he ended up sitting there, I want to explain to you a bit how it works, because it's very weird. It's not what you think. It goes very fast. And usually they expect you to know what you're doing. So, if it's your first time doing it, you're kind of just thrown in the deep end because they don't really explain much to you. It's also, despite looking very fancy and polished on TV, it's always very crappy looking in the studio. It's always just some shitty room with all equipment around and props they use for other segments, and then there's a news desk or a panel desk or something and in the middle, right? So when you turn up to do stuff like this, usually someone's called you and said, oh, we're doing a segment on X and you've written about that before. Do you want to come in and answer some questions? And you go, sure. They go, turn up at this time. It's usually about half an hour before you're meant to go on. So you'll turn up, and a producer, but often just an intern or a runner or something, comes down to meet you at the door of ABC or, I've done all the places. And they may briefly sort of explain to you, okay, right before you, the anchor's doing a segment on blah. Once that's done, they'll throw to the weather for 1 minute. During that, we'll bring you into the studio. The anchor will ask you a few questions. Then they'll throw to someone else on location, and then that's it. You're done. They'll just very quickly tell you that. That's literally all they'll explain to you. If it's your first time, they might tell you something like, oh, don't look into the camera or don't look at yourself on the monitors. But generally, no. You just have to kind of pick it up yourself. So then they leave you in what is kind of the guest waiting area, which is usually just a sad looking couch in a corridor or something. They'll offer water maybe. They'll offer makeup if you're lucky. Generally not. I will tell you, when you're doing live news or something at ABC in Sydney, there is a room with a box of tissues and a 40-year-old concealer compact, and that's it. There's nothing in there, right? Then when it's time for you, there's usually TVs there too where you can see what's happening but you can't hear it. It's just whatever. But then when it's time, someone runs in, they grab you, and it's all very fast. They just take you into the studio, which, like I said, is usually just a very small black room with junk everywhere and a news desk in the middle. They sit you down. The news anchor will generally just quickly look at you and say, hi, thanks for doing this. And you just go, okay. And then they look away from you and they'll start nodding and talking because they have an earpiece in. So they're generally listening to a producer that you can't hear, or they're listening to the segment before that you can't hear, so they know the timing. So you see your face on all the monitors, which is really off-putting because you're not meant to look at it. And then because you can't hear anything that the news anchor can, you just kind of sit there in silence.
How awkward.
Not knowing what's going on. The news anchor will hear the previous segment ending and the intro to the news story, and then they'll hear today the Apple case, blah, blah, blah. You can't hear any of that. And then all of a sudden the anchor will turn to you and go, joining me today is Rosie Waterland. Rosie, what are your thoughts on the verdict? It's very strange. It's a very strange experience.
I love in this scenario you're there to provide your thoughts on a verdict of a court case.
I know, as if. To me it would be Rosie,
but you would.
This person was eliminated from maths last night. What's your opinion? That would be me. But you know what I mean? That is how it would have been. You sit there, you can't hear anything, and then all of a sudden someone. So you answer maybe 2 or 3 questions. You're there for segments. They're a minute, minute 30 maybe max. And then while the news anchor is talking about the next thing, a producer comes over because the camera's not on you anymore, walks you away from the desk, and that's it. That's literally what happens. in
So
those kinds of
fast.
things. It's so fast, and like I'm very used to doing it now, but back the first few times I did it, I was like,
What?
You think this is a momentous thing? I'm going on television. It's going to be so fancy. No, you turn up, you basically sit in a closet.
Yep.
You talk for 2 seconds, you can't hear anything, and then you go.
Kicked out the door.
And that's like not even if you're doing a cross where like you're not even in the studio with the so like there's been times when like I've been on like the Today Show in the morning or whatever. They film in Sydney and I'm in Melbourne. You go into the Melbourne studio, they literally put you in a closet, like this tiny black closet, and there is a camera like right in front of you, and there's not even people.
Oh,
it's
wow.
just like they just leave you in
It's
the
like a
room.
Zoom call.
Yeah, and you have a little earpiece in. So you can hear like the people in Sydney. There's just literally a camera in front of you, and then there is a TV screen below the camera where you can see the show, but you can't look at it. But you have to look directly into the camera, even though you can't see the hosts unless you look at them on the TV screen, but you're not allowed to look at the TV screen because then your eyes look weird. You have to look directly into the camera. It's like in a little black closet by yourself.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's the weirdest thing. So like I can imagine him seeing the stools being like, this is weird, but I guess sitting there being like, I'm pretty sure I recognize her from the news, but you can't hear you can't hear the segment starting, and then all of a sudden,
boom, lights on, screens on, and in that one instant, you're in the wrong place.
So he's ushered to this stall. This woman comes in that he recognizes as Karen Bowerman, the news anchor. All the lights and TV screens in the room suddenly go on. He sees his face in all of them. He says later that he thought in that moment, oh dear, I'm in the wrong place. And he's about to say something, but then Karen turns to him and says, well, Guy Cuny is the editor of technology website News Wireless. And it's that moment that you see Guy Goma's like face panic, like because he's clearly like, oh, that's not me.
Yeah.
And then Karen says, hello, good morning to you. And like Guy could have made any number of decisions in this moment. He could have reacted in any number of ways. He's now piecing together that he's been introduced with the wrong last name. So clearly there's been a mistake. But like almost as quickly as the panic flashes across his face, it disappears and he replies, good morning.
He's yes-anding it. He is.
Hey, man.
He is. He's just it's so good. But I kind of think like if I was in this very specific situation, like
what would you
do?
What would you do?
You're on live television. Could you just turn around and say, actually, I'm not that person?
Yeah.
And that kind of like throws everything out. And then what do you do and talk about? Just, like it makes it so much more awkward.
So Karen Bowerman then asks, were you surprised by this verdict today? Now, keep in mind what I just told you about the news anchor having an earpiece in that you don't.
Yeah.
He didn't hear the opening package of this story. He has no idea what verdict she's talking about.
Yes.
He has no idea. He says in interviews later that at that moment he thought, okay, let me put myself together. And this is what is so lovely about this. Like, he seems like such a nice man. He said about this moment, he continued on with the interview, not so much out of like panic or fear or embarrassment for himself. He was more worried about making her look bad or getting someone else in trouble.
Yes.
So he later told the New York Times, it's like something came down to me and said, just relax. This voice in his head, he recalled, was that of his mother when he was growing up in the Republic of Congo. She taught him to respect others by not making a big deal of their mistakes. So he was kind of like,
that's so lovely.
He did an interview with LBC this year, the radio station, to promote the new book. And the host asked him about this moment. And the host said, so if you're watching on screen, you can see the funny face he makes, but it's not a funny face, it's body language. And Guy replies, yes, to express my feeling at the time, to show that's not me. And the host said, it was almost as if you wanted to help her get out of the interview without revealing that you were not, in fact, Guy Cuny. And Guy said, exactly. And the host said, and that's your personality. That's you thinking, I don't want to embarrass this lady. And Guy said exactly what I was trying to do at the time.
What was his body language?
So it's sort of in his first answer to this verdict question, he tries to sort of tell her. So she says, "Were you surprised by the verdict today?" And he sort of does it in a way where he's trying to say without saying it, you've got the wrong person. So he says, "I'm very surprised to see this verdict to come on me because I was not expecting that. When I came, they told me something else. And I am coming. You got an interview, that's all. So a big surprise anyway." And Karen goes...
That's a strange answer to the question I've just asked.
I think because his English is like... He has English as a second language.
Yes.
So he is just... And I think he's also sort of stumbling to answer. He's kind of trying to say... I'm surprised you're asking me about this at all because I'm not the person you're meant to be asking.
This is an interview that I thought I was going to be giving.
And so Karen looks a bit confused and she goes, "A big surprise. Yeah, yes." And Guy goes, "Exactly."
Wink, wink.
Yeah, and you can see on Karen's face at this point that she's like, what? And like these news anchors trust their producers implicitly. They don't have time. She's not organizing guests. Like she would have just been told, "You're interviewing this guy. He's an expert. Here are the questions." When he sits down, asks them. Like she trusts that it's the right person. He'll be able to answer the questions. So when she gets that answer, her face is kind of like, what? And I think she probably assumes that, oh, okay, this guy's just really bad on TV. Sometimes you get a guest and they're just not good at it. You pivot away quickly. The producers would probably be in her ear going, "Shit, oh, this person isn't great. Throw them a softball question. We'll quickly organize to pivot. Thank them for their time. We'll go to the next segment early." Like that's generally what would happen. But she continues on with the interview. Like they do, like you said before, they have contingencies to be like, just end this after 20 seconds. But she keeps going. And Elliot Gotkin, the producer who had booked the guest, he later said that it was all just like this perfect storm because they were having trouble with the satellite connection to the legal expert at the courthouse about it. So they had nothing to pivot to. So Karen is sitting there with someone who they're not quite sure what's going on, but he seems very uncomfortable to be there. And the producers in her ear are telling her, not only do you have to stick with this interview, but you actually have to make it even longer than we planned because we're struggling to get through to the journalist at the courthouse.
It'd be so funny at the same time a phone call comes through being like, "There's a man called Guy at reception waiting for you."
Just wait.
No!
James. Just wait. Just wait. So
like, who's this guy then?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry.
So Karen has never spoken publicly about this story, but she pushes through because, like, I'm assuming at that point she, Elliot, everyone's still under the impression that this is Guy Cuny, expert technology journalist. Maybe he's just not very good at it, So Karen asks, "With regards to the costs involved, do you think now more people will be downloading online?" And here's where Guy actually gives a pretty good answer because he's finally got a bit of context.
Yeah.
He hears, like, costs, downloading online, and he's an IT person.
He works in IT.
Yeah. So he goes for it.
There's some crossover in the Venn diagram.
He goes for it. There are some people who say he actually gives probably an easier to understand, more kind of layman's answer than an expert would have here. He says, actually, if you can go everywhere, you're going to see a lot of people downloading to the internet and the websites and everything they want. But I think it's much better for the development and to inform people what they want and to get the easy way and so faster if they are looking for. And Karen says, it does really seem to be the way the music industry is progressing now, that people want to go onto the website and download music. And Guy's getting kind of comfortable now. He says, exactly. You can go everywhere on the cyber cafe and you can go easily. It is going to be an easy way for everyone to get something to the internet. And then Karen says, Guy Cuny, thanks very much indeed.
Very short.
The whole thing lasted 1 minute and 20 seconds. Would you like to watch it?
I would, yes, please do.
Okay, here we go.
Well, Guy Cuny is the editor of the technology website News Wireless. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Were you surprised by this verdict today?
I'm very surprised to see this verdict to come on me because I was not expecting that. When I came, they told me something else.
He's looking straight into the camera as well.
You got an interview there, so it's a big surprise anyway.
A big surprise.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. With regards to the cost that's involved, do you think now more people will be downloading online?
Actually, if you can go everywhere, you're gonna see a lot of people downloading to the internet and the website everything they want. But I think it's much better for the development and to improve people what they want and to get on the easy way and so fast the things they're looking for.
This does really seem to be the way the music industry is progressing now, that people want to go onto the website and download music.
Exactly. You can go everywhere on the cyber cafe and you can check. You can go easy. It's going to be very easy way for everyone to get something to the internet.
CUNY, thanks very much indeed. I think we can now also speak to Rob Pitton.
What's going on?
And then,
Classic. And then he just like in the next moment he just like turns to her and he's just relaxed again. And he's like, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
I'm in this. There's nothing I can do now. We have to ride this fucking wave.
Just do it. I'm here. Let's go. Like truly, it's. I think that's part of why it's gone viral. Is just it went viral because it's like people look at that and go, I would never have handled it that well, you know. So after the interview, Elliot Gotkin comes over and gets Guy Goma, walks him out of the studio. That's what usually happens. And Guy is like, I'm not Guy CUNY. I'm Guy Goma. I'm here for a job interview in IT. And Elliot is like, shit. Guy Goma is taken to his job interview, goes home, doesn't get the job, by the way.
Oh, no.
Doesn't get the job. Just a small, outrageous detail of this story. Meanwhile, Elliot...
Did he say in the job interview? Because I just was accidentally interviewed on
did you
national
not just
television?
see me under a high-pressure situation? Like, if they're like, please explain a high-pressure situation in which you perform well, he can be like, do you want to fucking cut to the footage from 5 seconds ago? Please. So... Meanwhile, after Elliot gets Guy Goma off to his interview, he gets a call from a producer at the stage door entrance who's like, there's someone here called Guy CUNY who says he just watched someone else pretend to be him on TV. Guy CUNY had arrived just in time for his interview and he's experienced at this stuff. So he didn't need a lot of, he could have just run right in. He had been held up, but he did arrive in time for his interview. But since Elliot had already run over to the other reception, found Guy Goma and taken him to the studio already, they assumed they had Guy CUNY, so no one was there to meet Guy CUNY at the stage door. So he's just sitting, waiting at the stage door reception when he sees on a TV playing his name on the screen and the interview he was meant to be in, but with a different person. And he was actually really pissed off. He wrote about the experience later and said, what would you feel if while you were sitting in that rather chilly reception area, you suddenly saw yourself not sitting in reception, but live on TV? And this was,
get over it.
But also, this was 2006. This was a time before Twitter and people having their own recognizable presence online.
Yeah.
He's a journalist, and Guy CUNY was like, people who saw that are going to assume that was me. And no disrespect to Guy Goma, but that was not very good. Like, if I'm considered one of the most respected and knowledgeable technology journalists in the country, and that did not seem like I was. So Elliot... Gotkin talks to Guy CUNY, who is pissed off, and they get Karen Bowerman to record a replacement interview with him because they'll usually re-air segments throughout the 24 hours. So they're like, we'll record a replacement interview with you, slot that in, and so when this segment airs, it will have you in it and not the other person. And BBC decides later that night, actually, you know what? We don't really want anyone to know this happened, so hoping that no one would notice this whole thing because odds are they might not. It's 2006. TV segments, if you miss them, you miss them. They're like, we're just not going to do the segment again at all. Like, so Guy CUNY's filmed interview with him never airs because they just decide we're not airing that segment ever again. And BBC are very much hoping that would solve the problem because it's 80 seconds, it's a 24-hour live news channel, viral videos weren't really a thing. Like YouTube was a year old. Hardly anyone really knew about it. This was literally a time where if you missed something on TV, you missed it, and there's no way to get that footage again.
I was going to say, are there people like just recording TV just 24 hours a day?
Here's another part of the perfect storm. Just that week, the BBC had rolled out this brand new piece of internal software called Jupiter, which let any BBC staffer share any clip from BBC News with any other BBC staffer across the entire building. And all the BBC staffers thought this was so freaking funny.
Yeah.
So they're all sharing it. It kind of goes viral across BBC.
Internally viral.
Yes. And within 48 hours, of course, someone had leaked it outside of BBC. And by that weekend, it was on the cover of like 2 newspapers that BBC had effed up, because BBC is the government-funded news channel. Yeah. So it's, there's a lot of political stakes involved. Taxpayers' dollars at work, and look at these idiots kind of thing. So it's on the cover of newspapers. The footage then gets uploaded to this new thing called YouTube. So not only could the BBC staffers with this internal software watch the clip, once it's on YouTube, everyone has a way of watching it. And everyone did.
Yeah.
Like, this went massive, worldwide viral. People were obsessed with this clip. Elliot Gotkin lost his job. Guy Cooney filed a formal complaint against the BBC. The paparazzi became obsessed with Guy Goma. Everyone was obsessed with Guy Goma. They tracked him to his flat. They found out where he lived. He got really scared, so he fled to his brother's house in the suburbs. They found him there too. He said they were hiding in trees. They wouldn't stop hassling him. He later said in an interview, "It was very scary for me. I didn't know what they were going to do to me." But it does become very clear very quickly that people consider Guy Goma a total legend. Like, the attention that is coming to him is because people love him.
Yeah.
And they love this
He's responding
footage.
to pressure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, everyone's just asking each other, what would you have done? How could you have handled it any better? It's like he becomes this kind of folk hero. So 8 days after the original interview, Guy Goma went on Channel 4 News and let the presenter joke around with him, introducing him with 3 different names, one time as a Venezuelan citizen, one time as a lawyer, and one time as a doctor. And then he asked him to weigh in on Hugo Chavez, foreign prisoners released into Britain, and Britain's travelling for medical care, and he just plays along. It's very funny. And this is when BBC decides, they'll finally lean into the mistake rather than be weird and secretive about it. And so they invite Guy Goma back on BBC News 24, and this time as himself, to talk about what happened. He then appeared, he kind of becomes a bit of a viral, he was the kind of thing where if Ellen's show had been around at the time, he would have gone on Ellen.
Yeah.
He goes on he does a comedy skit on this popular show in the UK called The Big Fat Quiz of the Year. He's booked on Friday Night with Jonathan Ross. He's going to parties. A film producer announced in 2006 that they were developing a film about his life, which apparently only didn't go ahead because of the 2007 writer's strike, in which a lot of projects got cancelled. So, he has a fun time. Apparently he very much enjoys it all. But as this stuff does, it all kind of peters out eventually, fizzes out eventually. Guy Goma pretty much falls off the radar after that, goes back to his life. Elliot Gotkin, although he didn't technically get fired, he said he left because, I don't know, I got the impression reading stuff that it was leave or fine. That was my opinion. His career's fine. He goes on to win an Emmy. Karen Bowerman refused to ever comment about it, like I said, so she's never talked about it. Guy Cooney sadly died of cancer in 2010. He was only 63. Then in 2022, Guy Goma, who hadn't been seen since all this happened, he's invited on BBC World Service Outlook to tell the whole story himself. And that kind of sent the whole story viral again. And it wasn't long after that, after sort of, a few months after telling his story again, and I guess with TikTok and all other kinds of things, it sort of got this whole new viral life to it. In 2023, Guy Goma went on a podcast called Accidental Celebrities. It's quite a good podcast, actually. You should listen to it. And he announced on that podcast that he was considering suing the BBC for royalties. His exact reasoning was, did they pay me for that interview? No. He had been the BBC's most replayed video for nearly 2 decades.
Okay.
And they had broadcast the clip over and over and over, and he'd never seen any money from it.
Interesting.
So clearly, the BBC needed to placate Guy Goma in some way. So a few months later, in October of 2023, BBC asked him to host and star in the trailer for the new season of game show Have I Got News For You? Mm-hmm. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, yes.
It's so good.
Good evening and welcome to I've Got News For You. I am Victoria Karen Micho. You are smart and you got a nice shirt. Thank you. Oh, the BBC is going to pay for this one now.
I'm pretty terrified, aren't you?
So, he did there's a couple other trailers. So, I mean, that's a huge game show in the UK. So he was in ads for it for, a while. And I guess that did the trick because any talk of suing after that was no more. And after seeing him on those Have I Got News For You ads, Elliot Gotkin, now a freelance journalist, reached out to Guy Goma, who now works with people with learning disabilities, actually. That's his career now. He reaches out to him. They hadn't spoken since the interview, so they hadn't spoken for 18 years. And Elliot asked Guy if he wanted to write a book with him about the whole incident. And that book was published in 2026. And like I said, it's called The Wrong Guy, which when you know the other guy is called
Amazing.
Guy. Perfect. The inside story of TV's greatest cock-up. And it does seem like Guy has had lots of fun doing press again and like doing all these interviews. I will say though, TBH, and this is my opinion, allegedly my opinion, just what I've
Let's
noticed.
go after her about her opinion.
In the interviews I've seen, I've got the impression I've been a little uncomfortable. It seems to me like Elliot Gotkin just kind of used Guy to be able to write a book because there's no way he could have done it without involving him. He's been pretty upfront over the years about how he did not think it was his fault. He thought it was brutally unfair that like it affected his career so badly. He said things like, if this hadn't happened, who knows? I could have been the host of the morning show by now. What? Like has his thoughts about how this affected his career and whether or not that was fair. And in all these interviews promoting the book, I noticed he monopolizes the conversation a lot, which, Guy Goma isn't, English is his second language. And so, but he's perfectly articulate. I don't think Elliot has to monopolize the interviews, but he also would always say things like, I'm really excited about my book and last night at my book launch. And he would it seemed very much like, to me, in my opinion, Guy was just brought along because he couldn't have got the publishing deal without it, just in my opinion. And it does just also seem like in all these interviews and the book itself, the main purpose of it was to really drive home the narrative that like he didn't do anything wrong. The receptionist told him the wrong thing. The receptionist said it was Guy Cooney. He asked Guy if he was Guy Cooney. Guy Cooney says yes. I mean, Guy Goma says yes. Guy disputes that. It's kind of this thing of like anybody could have made this mistake. Anybody who went to that reception area would have made this mistake. Like I wasn't incompetent. This wasn't my fault kind of thing. I mean, there are some interviews where he just squarely throws the receptionist under the bus that I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man.
That's not cool.
It's like you were 30. It's a high pressure situation.
But also the stakes are pretty low.
Happen.
Like it's not the end of the world. Everyone's okay.
Everyone's
no one died
about it now.
Everyone, it's funny. Like guys got to do some really cool things out of it. Like it's not that big a deal.
So
and honestly, you probably weren't going to host morning TV anyway.
But it must be nice to think that
that's not something that everyone just gets to do at some point in their lives.
It must be nice to think that but like, if not for this,
Yeah.
you know, but whatever. I mean, look, like I said, just the impression I've got from some of the interviews I've listened to. But then I'm just, you know what, as long as Guy Goma's having fun and he better have got some money out of it. I'm sure he did. And
honestly, he probably did write the book. He probably did write the book.
Oh no, he would have written the book. He's a journalist. But it wasn't just his story.
No, exactly.
He needed to do it with Guy Goma and you know, so but even with Elliot Gotkin trying to sort of center himself in this whole new era of the story, Guy Goma is still just the undeniable hero in the whole thing. In all the interviews, all the interviewers are just kind of like, can you shut up? And they just want to talk to Guy. And I love this quote from the New York Times, and I wanted to end on this because I think this is really lovely. When writing a story about this, they interviewed a professor in digital culture about just this whole thing and the effect it's had. And that professor said of the interview from back in the day, it captures this sort of anxiety that we all have about being thrust into a role we're not prepared for, but trying to perform competently anyway. Like, yes, that is like the actual just crux of the whole thing. Everybody has that worst nightmare, scenario in their head. He faced it. And then the professor says, the fact that he's so clearly caught off guard and so clearly steadies himself, it's beautiful. With this grace and this composure, he emerges as an absolute winner from this. Mr. Goma's vulnerability and initial look of shock are part of the interview's enduring appeal. As the audience, we immediately identify with him and the anxiety of being thrust into a high-pressure role. We may even recall some of the times we've been in a similar situation. In the end, what makes the interview so memorable is how relatable it is. We're laughing with Guy, not at him. The humour doesn't come with incompetence. He does it all with grace. Isn't that so
beautiful.
true?
That's really beautiful.
He just handles it so well. And I just think it endures because it is. It's that kind of scenario where we all watch it and we're like, that's my nightmare happening in real time to him. And wow, look at how he handles it.
He just handles it like a pro.
Like, there but for the grace of God go I, and if it was me, probably wouldn't. You know what I mean? So that's kind of it. That's just the gist of Guy Goma.
Wow, I did not think that was going to be like enough in there to fill.
How long was that? Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's amazing.
I sort of thought this was going to be a mini, but then the more I looked into it, I was like, wow, this was really a perfect storm of it. Like two guys called Guy and the two entrances and
It was.
And the way these kind of live TV studios are, and it all just, it's very, when you sort of know the details behind it, it's very easy to understand how
it happened. Yeah.
How it happened.
Yeah. I just love the detail of like someone came up and offered to put makeup on him and he was like, no thanks.
I'm here for a job. You're like, what?
Like that's the normal occurrence of the BBC.
But again, it's like he was
tax-paid dollars at work.
He did say in like, because I've watched so many interviews and stuff, at one point he's like, you know, I was at the BBC. I was just kind of like, well, it's a TV place. Like you know, and I guess TV and like the behind the scenes of how TV and movies and stuff are made, it is a very foreign thing to most people and seems very fancy and like magical and you don't like, it's just like a whole universe you don't like, you'll never be close to but it's not fancy, like it's, and so it's sort of the way in his head he just kept going, well, I guess this is BBC TV studios, like I don't know,
someone's paid just to walk around and touch everyone up.
Like it's not out of the realm of possibility that it's just this magical universe you have no idea about. You're like, okay,
that's so great.
But when you have been inside it, you're like, oh my god, it's like not like that at all. It's a hot mess.
Wow, it's amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us just another viral moment.
Another viral
moment from history.
Obviously, as always, all the things will be in the show notes. The New York Times article, the footage, all the resources, and thanks so much.
And if ever happens to you.
Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lever and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast, and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.